Hi Steve, how are you?
I'm brilliant, you. Yourself?
Yeah, no, good, beautiful weather here today.
Oh, do you know what? I'm loving it. It's just absolutely delightful and it's so relaxing, giving me a chance to read up on a few things because it's quite interesting actually what's going on within the industry. Natasha's Law. I've read loads of articles just recently about it. Have you had any questions about it?
Yeah, we have actually. Quite a few people pinged us after we did our blog and our last recording and asked us some questions for clarification and also perhaps just to get a better understanding. So I think it's great that we're starting to see stuff in the trade now because the 1st of October is going to come around really quick, isn't it?
I think it's really interesting because legislation covers all of the UK. Scotland aren't using Natasha's Law, but they've got their own legislation coming in. So, and it will be very similar. And I think it's really interesting because this is going to affect all caterers and food outlets across the UK where they are preparing pre-packed food for direct sale. So if you're looking at a hospital who have a service for patients and staff and visitors, anything's pre-packed, whether it's and it's served sandwiches or anything on a chill counter that's pre-packed, that will be affected. So you need to really understand what the labelling situation is.
I mean, for me, it's a great build, isn't it, from the allergen legislation that came into 2014. And for me, that was a great start point. But this is just rebuilding on that. So it's every ingredient is listed, every allergen, and now it includes those may contains as well, which currently before only affected manufacturers. Now the caterers have got to be more aware of a may contain on a product. So I think it's going to affect everybody.
I think it is brilliant. I think the law that came in 2014 was a great start. But as with everything, you have to build on that. And I think this whole thing about the may contain is really, really important. You've said it to me before, that may contain is so confusing and that you need to be quite strict or understanding of what that means. So it's an interesting point, that.
Yeah, because for me, a may contain means that then the consumer has got that choice. So ideally, all the may contain should be eradicated so there's no risk. But if you've got someone that's got a severe allergy to something, then may contain milk is a real decision whether they would take it or not. So it's allowing them to make those decisions themselves. So it is going to affect everybody. And it's coming, some people are getting ready for it and some people are starting. So should we go on to some of the questions that we've had to come in and see what you think?
Yeah, go on then. Let's do it. Let's do it.
One of the questions that came in, somebody just said, how is this going to affect us and what do we need to know?
It's going to affect anybody who does any pre-packed products for direct sale, which means anything where a customer can help themselves on a counter. And it's very, very interesting because we just spoke about may contains, but one of the great things that I think we should sort of think about is your kitchen practices and make sure there's no cross-contamination, because cross-contamination is a real danger area and you see it on your HACCP plans and everything, but nobody actually thought up until 2014 that cross-contamination could be to do with allergens as well. And I think now that really is important. So you've got to check your labels for any may contains, because that's really, really important. Do you know another thing as well? And this used to be a bugbear of me when I was in the kitchens. Sometimes suppliers, when you order a branded item and they haven't got it in stock, they send you a substitution. Now this is going to be a real challenge, because when you think about the substitution, if it's an own label product, for instance, it may change. The allergens may change. So if you've ordered a branded tomato sauce in and you get a own label tomato sauce that is delivered, then you've quickly got to be able to record that and record any challenges with that, and make sure that you've got all that information, the allergen and making information.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's key. And as well, for me, it could be actually in your store cupboard, you've got two options to choose from. So your chef will be choosing, say for example, it's a bouillon, you could choose an option of two bouillons. One might have celery and one hasn't. So that will affect your labelling. So I think purchasing lists might become tighter. People won't have the choices, just to make the data inputting more simple.
Yeah, and that's where you're going to find a challenge when you've got multiple products in there, but you've got to be really strict. And I think that the more your team understand it, the easier it is going to be for you guys, the caterer or the food outlet.
Yeah, and I think as well, actually, it's really working with your wholesalers, isn't it? So you understand, the products, they know your sort of production, and what stock you need. So actually, they're not running out and not having to substitute, just to try and keep your stock levels up. So you're not creating problems or minimising as many as you can.
Yes, yeah. Because if you also look at other things, hotel staff, restaurants. We've all been in hotels, and all of a sudden there's a big rush when this mad party comes in early, so you've got this sort of big rush and everybody's running around and they miss their lunch, and in times gone by, what we used to do, we used to just put a plate of hot food by something, but actually we're not going to be able to do that anymore. We're actually going to have to label that food, aren't we? Because in effect it's going to be pre-packed. So that's really interesting. And but schools could have a problem as well, couldn't they, Lou?
Yeah.
What about
if those kids are normally come to the counter, but now they're going on a trip, so they're getting a packed lunch. Actually, all of those packed lunch items are going to have to be labelled and stickered. So it's the ad hoc requests, isn't it? It's the stuff that's not done every day, where people really need to think about if they're getting requests to do something different, like a packed lunch, or to put some food up for some staff, or to send food somewhere so they're wrapping it. It needs a label. I mean, one of the things I came up with is actually, I love a sign, is just putting some signs where all your packaging is, even where your cling film station is, or stickers on the cling film saying, if you're wrapping, does it need a label?
Do you know what? I'm a man of a certain age, and I need to be reminded quite a lot, because I forget now. So yes, that's a really good idea, isn't it? Because that also, if you think about it as well, your HACCP plan, your HACCP flowchart, that could include that information for an official side. But actually, your labels, Lou, I like that idea. Yeah.
Every time they're wrapping something, and in those, everyone's got like covered all their disposables in, haven't they? And the stuff where they go, especially when it's stuff. Because actually, if you're using a disposable pot, if you haven't got the lid on, it doesn't need a label. So you just need that. Do you need a label on the lid pot box to say, you're putting a lid on it, it needs a label?
Challenges. Well, I think the challenges are that you've got a good training regime going. If you have appropriate training on the law, refresh training on allergens, and also refresher and training on cross-contamination, I think that's pretty key, because with the more information you give your team and the more training you give to your team, the more they'll understand it. And I think also on this training as well, you'll have people within your team who've been living with allergens all their life. I mean, I know you have, haven't you?
Well, we had a period where I had a child on a dairy-free allergen, and we've looked at gluten-free as well as a family, so we're very aware of the impact it has, obviously at home, but even when you're going out as a family, and when your kids are at school, it's making sure that one, your child is making the right decisions and they know, but also, they have the information so that they can make the right decisions. So one of the other things was actually people were saying practically, because for me it is from a chef's point of view and it's about the practical stuff, actually, how are you going to label?
Well, do you know what? There's loads of tools out there, a management system, which will allow you to accurately label your products in a timely manner. So, and I think it's really key that you look at the different management solutions out there. We've started looking at Cafoodle, haven't we? We're using Cafoodle, and that really helps because it goes through the whole lot of all the allergens. You can plan your menus and your dishes, etc. And that gives you all the information you need, and then you can print it off. So there are tools available out there, but actually it goes back to training again. Make sure your team's trained, and make sure it's not just one person who's trained on it, because if they're off sick, Lou, if you go off sick, what am I going to do if I don't know how to use a computer? You know how stupid I am on computers. Make sure both of us are trained, and then we can overcome that.
And I think it comes back to everyone loves a sticker, don't they? All kids love stickers. So I think chefs as well. I mean, someone chef said to me the other day, it's like, I've gone for round stickers. And what I do love about the Cafoodles, it does give the option for different sizes, different shapes. You can put your own logo on there, and it covers all the legislation needs for you. So from your labelling point of view, not everyone knows that all your ingredients have to be done in weight order like they would on a manufactured product. And Cafoodle automatically calculates that information from your recipe, and it puts them in weight order, so it's something that you don't need to do.
Do you know, Lou, that's a really interesting point.
Different people do things differently, but it is one of those, this is the legislation and this is what we need to do. And I don't know who's going to be reinforcing this, who's going to be checking whether it's environmental health, but for me, it is really important, because if people don't get it right and they're not checking, the first time they know there's a problem is when somebody's had a reaction or a shock, or there's been a near miss reported, and that's what it's to stop.
And we don't get up in the morning as food production personnel, we don't get up in the morning to harm anybody. What we do is get up in the morning to offer the best food that we can possibly do for our customers. And we need to be mindful of how Natasha's Law came about. I think that's really, really key. So, what are the options, Lou?
I think as people look at their operation, there's a few things they need to think about, but quite a few people have said that they're looking at a bought-in solution now. So especially when you're looking at sandwiches, and if it's a hospital or a large site work canteen, they might buy all the sandwiches in, so they're already pre-labelled and done, and there's no chance for any error. And it's just really easily managed. So I think that's an option. Buy them in, ready for sale, already done. I've also heard some people say they're going to look at simplifying their offer. So this is when you look at your current sandwich offer, and you might be you'll have all your ingredients, and you'll just make up whatever you've got there in your sandwiches. Whereas now, because you need to label them, people are going to do sort of pure protein sandwiches. So they might just do just a chicken, just a ham, just a cheese, and then they might serve the salad separately in a pot, or give people the option to choose mayonnaise or pickle. So they haven't got to have a chicken sandwich with mayonnaise, one with pickle, one with stuffing, and have 3 labels. They'll have one chicken label sandwich, and the customers will build. So I think as a customer buying a sandwich, I think you might get less option, which I think is a bit of a shame, or you'll be making your own sandwiches with the other components, which I don't think is great either.
But actually, if you look at it positive, if you get a chicken sandwich and you've got the choice from the sachets of mayonnaise, pickle, brown sauce and chicken sandwiches. I don't mind it with bacon sandwiches, but But you can always semi-customising. But I take your point. I don't want to be making my own sandwich if I'm going to pay for it. But I might want to put my own sauce on.
Okay, well, but the thing is, as well, you're talking about sort of reducing the plastic, looking at packaging. So if all of a sudden you've got extra bits in extra tubs, that's extra packaging, isn't it? So I think as well we do need to be mindful of that. But one of the other things people were saying is actually just look at the service operation. So actually, if it's not sealed, it doesn't need a label. So for example, if you were looking at something like a hot dog on a counter, it was in a cardboard box, doesn't need a label because it's open and things can be added. So it could be you have a service counter with a finishing person, you've got a member of staff serving and finishing the dishes, doesn't need a label, just current allergen legislation needs to be followed. So that might be an option, but with the current COVID and also, staff issues, that might be put you under some pressure. So it's not the ideal, but moving to counter service means you might not need a sticker if it's been served and made to order, if you've got the staff. I think what people are doing now is actually lots of people are already looking to do the implementation. So people are already starting to talk to manufacturers of databases to help pull their information in. I know the wholesalers are looking to manufacturers to make sure all the data is up to date, because it is key, isn't it, that people start looking at this now. I mean, it's great to hear and see some places have already gone live ready, because I do think you can't wait to go live to the 1st of October. You do need to get ready before, just to iron out any of those problems.
We're going to get busy. So the sooner you do this, is better in my opinion. Get it all ready, get it on part of your ASAP plan, get your training in place, get all those things ready to go, and I think that will be that's one of the ways forward.
So Steve, how do you think we can help the caterers?
Well, here at Delicious by Design, we have already been doing a lot of work on Natasha Law, and you did a fantastic blog that can be found on our website. We're also looking at different tools and links for the business, so they'll be coming up on the website as we go along. But equally, you can get in touch with us to have an informal chat about training and good kitchen practices, and we can talk to you about how you can implement that within your business. But also you can talk to us about Caterers. We've mentioned Caterers a number of times already, but we can share with you why we chose Caterers and also why we are supporting hospitality in action through this partnership.
That's brilliant, Steve. Thank you. And it is lovely, isn't it, to see the questions coming in, what's going on in the trade, because actually we're a really caring industry, and it's just nice to see everybody chipping in, helping, supporting, sharing information. This is about just getting it right.